Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Today's topic comes from one of our viewers, Charisse Guillory, 2771. Thanks for the suggestion. You asked, what's the real difference between turnips and beets? If you've ever walked past them in the produce aisle, tossed them into a stew, or wondered why one stains everything red while the other quietly blends in, you've definitely crossed paths with these two root vegetables. They may grow underground and look deceptively similar at first glance, but turnips and beets live very different lives once they reach our plates. So how did these humble roots end up with such contrasting flavors, uses, and reputations? Stick around as we dig beneath the surface and uncover the surprising story of turnips versus beets right here on History of Simple Things. Turnips have a long history tied closely to survival. They were cultivated thousands of years ago across Europe and parts of Asia, prized not for glamour but for reliability. Turnips grow quickly, tolerate cold weather, and can thrive in poor soil, which made them a dependable food source during harsh winters and food shortages. In contrast, beets trace their roots, quite literally, to the Mediterranean region, where they were originally grown not for the bulb but for their leafy greens. Over time, people began appreciating the swollen root beneath the soil, and selective cultivation transformed it into the beet we recognize today. While turnips seem built for practicality, beets feel more like a happy accident that turned into a culinary favorite. Although turnips and beets might look similar at first glance, they actually belong to completely different plant families. Turnips are part of the Brassica family, which includes cabbage, broccoli, and mustard greens. That family connection explains their mild, slightly peppery flavor and why their greens taste similar to other brassicas when cooked. Beets, in contrast, belong to the Amaranthaceae family, putting them in the same group as spinach, chard, and quinoa. This is why beets have that distinct earthy sweetness in their roots and tender spinach-like leaves. So while they may share soil in a roundish shape, turnips and beets are more like distant neighbors than siblings, each carrying the flavor, texture, and culinary tendencies of their own botanical lineage, and each bringing something unique to the table. Bite into a raw turnip and you'll notice a crisp texture with a mild, slightly peppery flavor, somewhat similar to a radish but gentler. When cooked, that bite softens, the sharpness fades, and the turnip becomes subtly sweet and comforting. Beets, on the other hand, are unmistakable from the first bite. Their flavor is earthy, sweet, and deep, sometimes described as tasting like the soil they grew in, something beet lovers adore and beet skeptics struggle with. Cooking intensifies that sweetness, especially when roasted, while the texture becomes tender and almost buttery. Where turnips quietly blend into dishes, beets demand attention and rarely play a background role. In the kitchen, turnips behave like team players. They absorb flavors well, happily sharing space with herbs, broths, and other vegetables. You'll find them mashed, roasted, simmered in soups, or sliced thin into stews where they add body without stealing the show. Beets, by contrast, are solo performers. Roasted beets often stand alone with a drizzle of oil and salt, or paired intentionally with sharp cheeses, citrus, or vinegar to balance their sweetness. Even when mixed into salads or grains, beets tend to become the centerpiece, both visually and flavor-wise. It's the difference between a supporting actor and a lead role, both important but serving entirely different purposes. Nutritionally, both turnips and beets bring something valuable to the table, but in different ways. Turnips are low in calories and high in fiber, making them filling without being heavy. They also provide vitamin C and are particularly useful in colder climates where fresh produce was once scarce. Beets, meanwhile, are known for their natural sugars and unique compounds that support blood flow and endurance, which is why athletes often turn to beet juice. Their vibrant color comes from pigments that also act as antioxidants, giving beets a reputation as a functional food rather than just a vegetable. If turnips are steady and dependable, beets are energetic and expressive, even in nutritional terms. Turnips have often been associated with modesty and necessity. In some cultures, they symbolize resilience and survival, remembered as staple foods during times of hardship. Beets, on the other hand, have developed a more emotional reputation. Their deep red color has linked them to ideas of blood, passion, and vitality, and in some traditions, beets are even associated with love and strength. These cultural impressions mirror their personalities in the kitchen. Turnips as quiet providers, beets as expressive statement makers. It's fascinating how something grown underground can reflect so much about how humans see food and meaning. Choosing between turnips and beets isn't really about which is better. It's about what you need. If you want something versatile, mild, and comforting, turnips are hard to beat. They adapt easily, stretch meals further, and rarely overwhelm. If you're craving bold flavor, striking color, and a vegetable that feels alive on the plate, beets are the clear choice. Each one fills a different role, and together they remind us that even the most ordinary-looking vegetables can have remarkably different stories. So next time you're standing in the produce aisle, looking down at these two roots, remember, one is there to quietly support the meal, and the other is ready to steal the show, both growing patiently beneath the soil, waiting for their moment. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.